Hello, Bookislovakians. This is Bookislovakia, bringing you another episode of 100 Weeks of Game. You turn that down just a little bit. Today we're looking at Risk of Rain, a roguelike with a few unique risks, like a lot of roguelikes. It has multiple player classes. What starts off unlocked, of course, is the Commando, and then you unlock a Sentinel, a Bandit. This is a Miner, and there are a host of other characters. I had previously unlocked an Amazon? Or a Huntress? I think it was Huntress, and she was really good. And this little robot guy here is pretty good too. Unfortunately, I do not have them unlocked anymore, but let's take a look at Risk of Rain. When you spawn in Risk of Rain, sometimes you fall out of the sky, and I don't know why that happened, but it did. Okay, so now the game begins proper. And I am playing with a controller. I spent most of my time playing this with the keyboard and mouse, which I think is okay, that's weird. A superior play. We're going to have to start this level over, I think. Turn to my menu. And I've never seen that bug before. Well, I've seen it once before on this computer, so I don't know if it's something to do with my TV settings or what. And so you start out on the same level. I think they're procedurally generated, or randomly laid out, because you see some features that are common amongst different levels, and so you know, it's not exactly procedurally generated or completely random, but it's pretty close. And if you'll take a look in the top right corner of the screen, you will see the timer and the difficulty setting. One of the unique things about Risk of Rain is the game becomes progressively more difficult as you get deeper in, and that's not based on the level that you've achieved, but rather how long you've taken to achieve that level. The point of the game is that, as you saw in the opening credits there, apparently you're on some sort of transport ship, and some guy takes exception to transport ships and sinks it, or shoots it down, whatever you want to say, whatever you do with a spaceship. Shoot it down, I guess. And shoots it down with his sword. Yeah. So, anyway, you spawn on this level, and you progress through the levels by getting experience, fighting enemies, you get your different abilities. The Commando's a lot of fun. He's got high mobility. He's got this little jump dive, or just a regular dive, but you become invulnerable while you're diving, so it's really good for ditching enemies. You have rapid fire that will fire both forward and in two separate directions at once should you be faced by so many enemies. This is left trigger on a gamepad here, is a big powerful shot that will cut through all enemies. And there's just a lot of different things that go on when you kill enemies. They drop experience, sometimes they drop health or money, and they spawn randomly. And they won't stop spawning until you find the teleport exit to the level, which is that red guy that we're coming up on the right side of the screen there. Let's see. That's a temple. You can offer money or sometimes life, depending on what level you're on, to try to get good items. And one of the things I actually really enjoy about Risk of Rain is that you can double up or triple up or quadruple up on items. And so if you're lucky, you can get some very powerful items and then replicate their results to really, you know, triple and quadruple or double dip on effects and abilities. And I don't know if we'll get a chance to see that, because as it is a roguelike, everything is randomly generated for the most part, you know, items, enemy drops, and so on. And so we may or may not be able to get to see some of those kind of exploits. And they're not really exploits because it's in the game. It's meant to be played that way. Risk of Rain is kind of a high action, high risk, but very enjoyable roguelike. So we're just going to play through a level here because you usually don't survive beyond 15 minutes or so. You know, whatever would be a good length for a YouTube video. At least I don't, because I'm not very good at roguelikes, and I'm out of practice with this one, even though I played it fairly extensively, not at a job I once had. And no, I didn't lose it because I played games. I quit. But, anyway, so what we're going to do here is just kind of spam attacks at Mr. Bossman. The boss spawns whenever you activate the teleporter that you saw me doing a little bit earlier. And then once you've killed the boss, enemies stop spawning. Actually, I think they may stop spawning once you spawn the boss. And there's a couple of achievements, and some achievements will unlock new characters and so on, just like you'd expect. Yeah, I don't think they stop spawning. Yeah, they don't stop spawning until the boss is dead. And there's an achievement for having no enemies alive once you've killed the boss. And I don't know how exactly that's entirely possible, but there's a lot of things I don't know about, like, you know, physics. I don't understand how they work. Stuff goes up, stuff goes down. You can't explain that. Thank you, Bill O'Reilly. And so I'm going to get those. Well, I'm going to try to get those shackles. If memory serves, whenever you damage an enemy, they take a speed debuff, which is really good. All the items are pretty cool. Some are better than others. There's a bouncing brain that comes to mind, and I don't think it's very good. I'm sure someone out there is like, oh no, the bouncy brain is really good. I disagree, but you know, that's what makes America great, I suppose. Bouncy brains. They're advocates and detractors. If you are pro bouncy brain, hashtag at Bookislovakia on Twitter. Yes to bouncy brains, down with standard brains. Okay, climbing back up. That's one of the only things. You do take some damage from falling. I don't think it's typically a major. Oh, this is really good. So this, damn it. This activated device, or active item, drops a gate, and then when you activate it again, you can teleport back to it. So if you find the teleporter, for instance, but are being swarmed by enemies, you can use it to give yourself some breathing room. There's a lot of strategy involved in this game, I think, in many ways. Like there would be with any kind of roguelike game. And if anyone doesn't know what I mean by roguelike, roguelikes tend to be extremely difficult, RPG kind of inspired, randomly generated games where the enemies, item drops, levels, everything was more or less randomly generated. And they're very popular. They're very old. I mean, they were very popular, or at least... Okay. They were very popular in the early video game era because they could be rendered with text instead of graphics, or standard graphics like what you would see here. You would have either very, very simple graphics or letters standing in for character attributes, or, you know, whatever. A G is a goblin. And they're punishing difficulty and what people would kind of call hardcore to some extent, because the one life that you have, or you start with, is the life you get. Now, of course, you can heal and you're very tough, but you die, and that's the end of the game. And I don't think there's any problem with that. Depending on the game, the genre, I really enjoy these. I'm kind of just a roguelike fan. I've played, and by roguelike, they're talking about the game, I want to say it was actually just called Rogue. And it was the first roguelike, or the most popular one that got the name. I'm sure there's probably some debate on what was the first roguelike and all that. It may be known, I don't know. I'm not a Usenet computer nerd, I'm only 29. But these are kind of an artifact that have gained popularity since their heyday in the 80s, I would say. I mean, again, that's just kind of conjecture. I'm pretty good at conjecturing at times, usually not. I don't know. I don't want to toot my own horn here. Anyway, so the enemies are all different, and you can see we're on a kind of different looking level. I don't know if the teleporters are taking you to different biomes on the planet, or just areas, or continents. I mean, but all the levels are very distinct. I love the artwork. Simple though it is, I mean, you are basically a stack of pixels. No worries for me. I like the way it looks. And I love the random aspect. Head stompers are an okay item. They deal damage on when you fall and drop on top of somebody. That's okay. You're not going to win the game with it, but any little bit of damage, especially as you get into later levels and more enemies start to spawn, and things start to get hairy, you definitely want to have something around. Okay, so now I'm going to try to... Okay, so B, I was going to say circle. Long time PlayStation owner, so I tend to confuse the B on my Xbox 360 controller, which I find very comfortable. If you have large hands like I do, I'm a big guy, you know, 6'5". I recommend the Xbox 360 controller. Wired one, works with the PC, blah blah blah. Anyway, I was trying to figure out what item did that. I would have to say that the magma worm is one of my least favorite bosses to fight. I'm not actually a fan of any of them, to be very specific here. He's not super hard to beat, but the nature of the way he moves around the screen and everything just makes him a pain to fight, and that's okay. You know, if it was fun to fight, it probably wouldn't be a boss. I don't know. So I guess Shadow of the Colossus kind of denies that to some extent. You can see here I've got these blue feathers around me. That was the item, or rather, I guess they're snowflakes. Whatever. Those were dropped by the last boss. Bosses usually drop you pretty good loot, and that particular item gives me these snowflakes that rotate around me after I kill an enemy. And the magma worm, the nice thing about fighting him is each of his body segments can be damaged independently. He doesn't have a weak spot. He is a weak spot. And I'm pretty sure he's going to kill me here. And so if you've got something that can damage areas effectively, you can hit this boss pretty hard. He is wailing on me. And sometimes you'll get stuff like this where you don't really have a really good way of healing a lot of damage. You've got all these enemies on you. It looks like they're not spawning anymore, so I may be able to take them out without dying. You do get a little icon when you manage to dodge damage. I think there's an achievement for dodging a certain amount of lethal blows in a row. I don't think I've ever gotten it because I'm not that good. Oh, I'm about to die. Nope. We're still clinging on to life. Bittersweet until the end. We will survive. And I will survive. Hey, look at that! Dodge 7 lethal attacks. Not bad. Unlocked an item, it looks like. These stupid flying jellyfish are going to come and make life much more difficult for me. Fortunately, they are slow and kind of stupid. So we'll see. Oh, I survived. Crazy. Nice. And another unlock. On my laptop, when I originally had played this, not at work, I had unlocked a significant number of items, though I really missed the characters more. The Huntress, in particular, is my favorite because in Risk of Rain, you can't move and shoot. You can see here it's not very fluid. He stops to shoot. And all the characters like that, except for the Huntress, who is able to kite. She can run and shoot at the same time. She had a lot of really neat abilities. It's just amazing. At least I think she's amazing. But ladies tend to be. Oh, hey, forgot about that. Oh, I forgot there's all these enemies over here. Kind of probably need to kill that. Oh, that's a dead end. I'm just gonna die. I'm not ready. I'm too young and pretty. Alright, so we are in a bit of a pickle here. I've got a lot of powerful enemies that can hurt me with not being able to do much about it. But it looks like I will have some leeway here, as you can stand on a platform and wail on dudes. It's not very sportsmanlike, but neither is being trapped on a planet by a guy with a sword. So we'll take out what we can, take the or dodge into damage like a person who's bad at games. Looks like we're at 11 minutes. That kind of gives you the gist of the game. I wish I could show you more characters, and we'll probably come back and visit this. It's a game I really enjoy playing. So here we go. Made it 11 minutes, and you can see the difficulty rating got up to medium. Starts very easy, easy, medium, hard, harder, very hard. And I believe, if I remember correctly, the last time I got to the highest level difficulty, it just said ha 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 ha, which is kind of funny. So I am Bookislovakia. This was 100 Weeks of Game, and this was Risk of Rain, getting 5 out of 5 gamesicles for greatness. I hope you'll join me again next week, and if you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe.